Hello again, this is Silver Soul. I am continuing with trying to bust out the rest of When Friendship Dies. This is chapter 13 of When Friendship Dies by StrawberryDashie. Hurting. Opening with an author's note. I really want to thank you guys again. My readers mean the world to me. I had one person review who said this brought up great memories for them, and that's what I really want as a writer, is to make others happy. I want people to enjoy my love for writing. When I see that I have, I feel so happy and wonderful. You guys are truly amazing. Thanks. And sorry I left you with a cliffhanger. I hope this makes up for it. P.S. Some people have been noting that I don't write every pony or any pony. I'm sorry. I forget sometimes I'll put it in, sometimes I don't, because I'm not used to writing that. And Applejack's accent, sorry about that too. I'm not good with them, so I'll try, but you'll have to read it in the accent. Okay. I can actually read... Yeah, I can actually do Applejack accent. It's one of the few I can actually do. And I'm gonna take small liberties when doing this and try to auto-correct every pony and any pony when I read it. So, I apologize if I upset you with that, StrawberryDashie, but I don't think I will, so that's why I'll go ahead and try and auto-correct every pony and any pony. Okay, now, let's get to the reading. When Friendship Dies by StrawberryDashie, Chapter 13, Hurting. Dark clouds rolled above Canterlot, making the peaceful night turn into a nightmare. The small yellow Pegasus was slowly making her way toward a window facing the street. Her mane was frizzled, she wore a soft brown coat, and her eyes were red from crying. Down her leg was a large bruise, the result of a long fall. One of her wings was slightly bent, and any pony observing her could see she winced every time she flapped them, trying to achieve her goal. Fluttershy finally reached a window, then glanced inside to see one bed and a bookshelf. She scanned it, then sighed, continuing to the next. On and on she went, the rain pouring down her small frame. After looking for an hour, she was almost ready to give up and try again tomorrow. One more, Fluttershy. Just one more, she said, pulling herself onto the balcony railing. Her right back leg was burning with pain, hurting every time she moved it. Her left wing was limp and wasn't working properly. She was exhausted and soaked. The room was dark, but she could just make out the shape of two beds and a slightly messy floor. She stared around, then gasped. She saw a large book that looked awfully familiar resting on the bed. Is that? Please be it. Fluttershy said, slowly climbing onto the balcony and pushing open the sliding door, crawling in. Almost immediately she felt better, the rush of warm air welcoming her inside. She didn't even care if she was still chilly. Rain wasn't dripping onto her now. She took a moment to relax and just stood there. Then she shook out her mane and made her way to the bed on the left of it. To the bed on the left. It was dark blue, and the covers were pulled down as if some pony had just gotten out of it. Right on top of it was a suitcase and an open, hollowed-out book. And this looked familiar to the Pegasus. She closed the book and looked at the cover. The Elements of Harmony. Twilight, where's your element? She wondered aloud, flipping through the pages before closing it and putting it away in the suitcase. She searched the room, under the beds, in the closet, before stopping to lay down on the bed and sigh. Her eyes started to droop closed, and she almost fell asleep. Wake up, Fluttershy whispered to herself, standing up and looking toward the door. She walked toward it, looking down. She noticed a small trash can beside it, and lowered her ears. No, she couldn't have. Slowly, she moved her head over it, then looked down. She gasped and immediately looked away. Why, Twilight? Why would you? She looked back and used a hoof to lift it up. The element of magic glinted in the lightning outside, making Fluttershy drop it. And why would Fluttershy throw it away? She picked it up and stuffed it into the coat she was wearing, not going to leave it there to get dusty. She retreated to the balcony and decided to try and see if Twilight was anywhere in the castle. Fluttershy's journey was turning into a nightmare for her. She had gone all this way to discover that Twilight didn't care about her own element that had saved Equestria. Twice. She began looking at other windows before coming to one where candlelight was glowing inside. The curtains were pulled back, and Fluttershy's sea-green eyes slowly peered into the window. There was a cluster of unicorns, all laughing and talking, and then, in the center, was someone who Fluttershy wished was not there, with those ponies. Twilight was sitting between two unicorns, and chatting with the others like she'd known them forever. They were putting makeup on her, choosing outfits for her, doing her hair, hoof cures, everything Twilight had never done with them. Fluttershy could feel her eyes watering, and she ducked down, feeling like she was interrupting something. There was Twilight, right inside that room, but perfectly happy without them. They had all been replaced. Fluttershy didn't want to believe it, but all the proof she needed was right there. Suddenly, the world felt a lot colder. Her mind was clouded as she descended the castle and landed on the street. She limped off into an alley, knowing there was no way to find shelter this late. Her hooves carried her blindly, eventually landing her in a box under a ledge outside the back of a shop. She pulled the element of magic out and placed it beside her. Then she adjusted the coat to lay over her as she curled up and stared out at the drizzling rain. She was broken, cold, tired, and hurt. But out of all this pain, her heart hurt the most. Sparkle finally gave up. She couldn't sleep. In fact, she didn't really want to. She crawled to the window and stared out at the rain. Her heart felt very heavy and her head was hurting. She sighed and opened the window, glad to feel the cool breeze on her face. She was tired of pretending like she didn't miss her friends. She knew she did, even if she didn't care to admit it. Her new friends were a good substitute, a good way to forget, but at the end of the day, it didn't matter if they were there or not. Sparkle didn't really care. But her old friends? She cared a lot. Her eyes closed as she tried to imagine what they were doing right now. She waited for a picture to appear, but none did. However, she suddenly felt cold and her back leg hurt terribly. She felt exhausted. Must be the outside air, she murmured to herself, closing the window and heading back to her sleeping bag, settling down again and watching the other unicorns, wishing her life could be as simple as theirs. I wish none of this had ever happened, Sparkle whispered, a tear falling. She knew she had promised herself not to cry anymore, told herself that there would be no more missing ponies who obviously didn't care about her, but it hurt too much to forget about. She stood and quietly left the room, heading down the hall to Luna's room. She opened the door slowly to find Luna was not inside. Good, she wanted to be alone. She reached for the trash can and held it up, staring at it. I'm so sorry, Element. Then she held a hoof out and flipped the can over, ready to catch the crown when it fell. But nothing fell. What? Sparkle set the can down and stared inside. There was nothing. It was empty. Well, where is it? She asked herself, getting down and crawling around, searching the room. Elements don't just disappear. Sparkle laid on her bed and screamed into her pillow, letting her eyes get wet with tears again. She had lost her home, her friends, and now she had lost the only thing she had left of her old life. Why would it go away? She whispered, rolling over and over, staring at the ceiling. Unless... Twilight, it must have disappeared because you don't deserve it anymore. The second voice whispered into her head. You don't own the element now. The friendship doesn't exist, so neither does it. Without the friendship of you 6 ponies, the elements are lost too. You read that in the book, remember? No, Sparkle said, getting up. I didn't mean for this to happen. I know, Twilight, I know. Sparkle looked desperately outside. She ran onto the balcony and stared at the moonlit sky. I'm sorry, she screamed. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen! Please come back!" Her head fell, and her mane hung in her face. "I'm sorry. I just want my life back." "Are you going to listen to that stupid pony in your head?" the first voice shouted. "She doesn't know anything. You may think that's you, but it's not. You're not her anymore. You're not Twilight. You're Sparkle. How can she call you Twilight? You're nothing like her. You are an independent pony. Who cares about being happy friends? Who cares about books? Who cares about any of that? You don't. You don't need those things. You need you. You need Sparkle." Sparkle looked back up at the moon again. I don't know what I need anymore. I don't know who I am." "I'll tell you. You're Sparkle. A beautiful, amazing unicorn. Some pony who's powerful, popular. Isn't that what you wanted? Isn't that what you need? Don't you see that don't you see what Twilight talking is doing to you? Do you want to feel like you do now? Sad, miserable, lonely, when you have perfectly good friends in the other room? You don't need Twilight. You don't need your element. You don't need any of that to be a happy pony. But what you do need is me. Me, Sparkle. That's what you deserve, and that's what you can get." Sparkle covered her eyes, trying to get the voice to leave. She knew it was in her imagination, but even that scared her. It showed her that deep down, that was her. And now the real her was coming out and taking over. "I miss Twilight. I miss Spike and Rainbow Dash and Applejack and Pinky and Flutter. It doesn't matter. They're not here, are they? Do you think they'll ever be? Why tear yourself up about ponies who don't give a crap about you?" Sparkle sighed, getting to her feet. "Whatever. That's how they feel about you." She shook her head and trotted inside. I don't care." "Neither do they." "Stop it! Not until you tell me that you're Sparkle now." "I'm not." "You are. Please help," she whispered, hoping some spell would save her from the voice. "I'm trying to." "No, you're just hurting," Sparkle said, suddenly becoming very weak and falling to the ground, her legs giving out. Her mind clouded over, and suddenly everything was dark. "This is for the best." The voice was the last thing Sparkle heard as she lost all control of her mind. Author's note. It's kind of short, I know, but you guys made me feel guilty about leaving you like that, so I hope you liked it, even though it's small. I'm still writing, trying to get ahead, and soon I can, hopefully, give you another chapter. Thanks, everybody. StrawberryDashie. Okay. And, again, this voice is driving me insane. I need to know. I need to know who this voice is. My conspiracy meter in my head is going insane. Okay. And thank you, everybody. I will be getting out next chapter momentarily, probably. Goodbye.